Hi, I'm Zach Pedigo. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Art and Trust Company, and welcome to the Art and Trust Takeaways podcast. I have with me today Senior Trust Officer, Keena Franklin, and our Chief Fiduciary Officer, Adam Davis. Welcome.
Thank you.
Excited to be with you all today.
Yeah, us as well.
So we're talking about wealth transfer. That is the topic. And I want to start generally, and just, Adam, I'd like to know from your perspective, just why should the topic of wealth transfer never be avoided?
Well, the primary concern of any account beneficiaries or grantors of trusts that we work with, their primary concern and goal is is their family going to be treated after they're gone, or even during their life, depending upon the terms of the trust document. And so we need to make sure that we're listening to the clients and understanding that what their goals are. We need to partner with the financial advisor as well in order to develop a cohesive financial plan in alignment with our administrative execution, and work really closely with all parties involved in order to execute the goals that they've communicated to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a contiguous plan and having that plan executed is key on clients' minds.
Right.
And the challenge advisors are helping them through. To stay on the topic about families, Keena, explain what generational and horizontal transfers are.
Yeah. So when you look at generational transfers or transferring assets, you look for maybe a parent to a child, grandparent to a grandchild, and that has a level of complexity there, because you're looking at the tax issues. It's a little bit more complex than a spouse, right? Transferring horizontally, like to a spouse, a husband to a wife. Though it's easier, those transfers, there's laws in place to make those transfers not as complex.
So, Adam and Keena, advisors may want to avoid the topic of wealth transfers with their clients. What case can you make for not avoiding that topic?
Well, more than ever, there is going to be a great wealth transfer over the next 10 to 15 years. And families are going to see more wealth transfer from one generation to the next. So this is the time now that advisors need to make a priority to speak with their clients about their financial plans and their estate planning. And that's where Arden comes into play, because we partner with those financial advisors to look at trust documents and to help them as they plan with their clients for the great wealth transfer that is currently happening now.
Okay, great. What are some of the factors that are driving this large wealth transfer, largest in history, some say?
Well, to add to what Keena was saying about your previous question first, I think facing our mortality is never an easy question.
Death is not a fun topic.
Right. And so not for FAs, not for families, not for, matriarchs or patriarchs of their families, no one. Mm-hmm. So, again, I think we need to use our empathy and understand what the goals of the family are, and really help educate not only the account beneficiaries but the FAs about the value of having these kinds of tough conversations with our partners and clients. And in that way, we'll really be able to help them substantively execute on those plans. Growth and change are hard, right? And that's part of the role that we play as a corporate fiduciary in helping to affect that tough change that can be required.
Yeah, And I think the fact the boomers too are at an age of wealth transfer is top of mind for some of those leading the pack in that generation, and it is a big force that's affecting the industry.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's give the advisors that are watching a little industry parlance for their wealth transfer discussions that they have with the clients. Can you just talk about horizontal and generational wealth transfer?
So when you think about generational transfer of wealth, it's a bit more complex because you have, parent to child, grandparent to grandchild, and also, we're seeing a lot of planning for blended families. And that can become a bit more complex as families begin to think about estate planning and legacy planning. So, that's something that advisors should be looking at now with their clients. And then when you think about the horizontal transfer of assets, spouse to spouse, maybe sibling to sibling, is not as complex because there are, of course, transferring assets to a spouse is a lot easier than, going from generation to generation, because with the generational transfer of wealth, your time horizons are longer. And that takes more planning to go from, generation to generation. And so that's where, again, Arden comes in to review documents and to go over plans with our financial advisors so that we could, be named as successor trustee or come in and, help with estate, settling estates. So, this is a thing that advisors should really pay attention to when it comes to generational and horizontal wealth transfer.
Okay, thank you for that distinction of the horizontal and generational. Adam, any other complexities you might mention for advisors that you're seeing with this topic of generational transfers, wealth transfers?
To me, it's not the technical aspects of it that are complex. It's the human elements to it that are really difficult for some families to navigate. And so what we need to do is to really clearly and effectively collaborate with the FA, the financial advisor, to identify what planning is appropriate and advised for the family, and help educate that family and leverage our empathy and our technical skill to help them understand why we can help them do what they want to see done in their planning.
Yeah, it never is a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
And
I always think about how a flake of snow, it has its own molecular unique significance. They're all different from each other, and I think families that we work with in our industry are all the same way. It may be the same kind of assets, but the family dynamics makes it completely different. And so we need to recognize that as we navigate our work with families and customize our approach that way.
Absolutely, yeah. With blended families now and potential multiple marriages that happen, and families get more and more complex. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a good example. So, what proactive steps should advisors help clients take today to prepare for wealth transfer, generational wealth transfer?
Yeah, and I think a lot of advisors, a lot of the financial advisors that I work with, they currently do this, right? So they are speaking with their clients on the regular, and also, doing planning on an annual basis, because we know that dynamics of families change over time. So it's not just you put a plan in place and it's there forever, right? You have to constantly go back and review the plan because families change. And so, I would say financial advisors should definitely make sure that they are reviewing and going over their beneficiaries financial plans on an annual basis, at least an annual basis, which most of the financial advisors that I work with, they currently do that. And they also like to bring us in at Arden as they're doing that, so that we can lend our expertise when we're looking through trust documents. Maybe there's some updating that needs to be done. Maybe we can, there needs to be some designations, beneficiary designations, so we can lend a hand with the financial advisors as they are reviewing those estate plans annually with their clients.
Yeah, perfect. Anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I would add that we Kina previously talked about the generational wealth transfers and the complexity associated with that. I think one of the things we can help do as we work with financial advisors is to deepen relationships with families. Mm-hmm. They may have an outstanding relationship with the one generation of the family. We could help with bringing in the next generation and help develop a plan with them to execute and develop a relationship with that next generation as well. So that not only brings a lot of value to the planning for the family, but it also enhances the business relationship that we have with our critical partners.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's the next generation and helping that continuity,
Right.
and helping them, understand the plan, and that's great.
Yeah.
Can you speak, either of you, or maybe both of you, to the role that Arden Trust as corporate trustee, the role that Arden Trust plays in ensuring smooth wealth transfers for advisors and their families that they refer to us?
So, well, at Arden, we work with the financial advisors first so that we can get an understanding of the client's needs. Mm-hmm. And so we partner with that financial advisor so that when their client is ready to move their funds to that financial advisor, we understand what we need to do as trustee. Mm-hmm. And it's also good to understand the client's situation before their assets move. So what didn't happen or what did happen at a prior trustee. So Arden, we partner with our financial advisors so that we can make that transition smooth for their clients.
Yeah, great.
And I would add, I think that's all terrific and right on target. I would add that Arden differentiates itself in a couple of ways. One is we really have a different model than most of our competitors. We have a model where we have a lower account load per trust officer team, and that enables us to provide a high level of service. Mm-hmm. And we're committed to service. As someone who's worked for some of the larger banks and wealth management groups in the past, the model seems to be moving more towards expense controls and increased profitability over service, and we're doing the opposite, and I'm really proud of that. I think that's a real differentiator for us. And the other thing is that we specialize in working with financial advisors. Mm-hmm. And we have put together a process where we onboard and integrate the financial advisors into our fiduciary work in a way that I don't think any of our competitors do or even can. So between those two factors, I'm really proud of the work that we do and the model that we offer. So I would say those are the two biggest differentiators for us.
Yeah, fantastic. And that was my closing question too, was what differentiates Arden Trust amongst other corporate trustees, and you hit the nail on the head with that. It's culture, it's service, and it's gearing that we can provide that excellent white glove service.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So thank you all very much for your time. And I think for wealth transfer, speaking with Arden Trust and getting involved early and often in some cases to help navigate through those tough wealth transfer discussions is what we're here for. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.